Page 26, the theme from the Unfinished Symphony is Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. I encourage you to go listen to a recording of that. It's gorgeous, just beautiful. So we have one sharp, or we're in the key of G major. Make sure you can do the scales. For G major, E minor has one sharp, and it wouldn't hurt to do the arpeggios too for those two keys. Now 3/4 time. Now give an example of the rhythm of this at the top, because a lot of the beats are on the ands of the beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and blah blah blah. I'll talk about it when we get to the piece. Let's get to the piece. Right hand first. Make sure we get the fingerings and the notes all worked out. Here, they're saying here and then here, a 3-1 or 1-3, excuse, and then a C natural, and then 1-4. You can, and I prefer, rather than a 2 at the beginning, use thumb, and then a 2-3, so I can connect it, and then a 1-5, and then a 1-4, like so. Then in the last two measures, that first line, this is the rhythm I'm talking about. It's a 1 and 2 and 3 and. You see the quarter rests and the lower staff, they're in between the notes and the upper staff. The quarter rests, they're showing you are on the beat. They're placing them there deliberately to show you where the beat is, because you're playing on the end of the beat. Now let's go on, second line, the second line. The same rhythm. You're playing on the ends of the beats. 1 and 2, and I recommend you started out 1-2 from the line before, but I recommend you go to 1-3. This way, in the second measure, you can go to 2-3 here. So I would recommend 1-3 for the second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and it goes on with this rhythm forever until you get to the bottom of the page. Last line on page 26. You can, if you want, do 1-3 like they're shown, because you've been doing. If you stay in this position on the last line of the last measure of the third line, the CE, you're going to be in 2-4. You can at any time when you're playing these, play the next one with 1-3. You can change, that's alright. So the last measure of the third line is 1 and 2 and 3. See, I just changed fingerings. And then for the next one, it's 1 and 2 and different rhythm. This is the last line on page 26, the first measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and then up. You got to go from here to here. Practice that if you have to. There's no rest. You just lift up and move. Here. Then we have two voices going. Bottom, dotted, you're going to hold that down the whole measure as you're doing this melody. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Just make sure you hold that bottom note down for the whole measure on each of the thumb can play each one. Third line down on page 27, chords. Well, they start at the second line, but I'll go here, and then the second measure. Now on this one, with the F sharp, if you don't want to put your hand up in here, you can use second finger. That's fine. So it's here. You don't connect these chords. You just F natural there. Last measure, that is a D, an E, and a G sharp. And then last, don't forget the F sharp. And then the first ending, 1 and 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, because then you're going to repeat back to the reverse repeat sign over on page 26. Left hand. Well, left hand's pretty straightforward. At the beginning, the second line there on page 26, it gets the melody. These are the cellos doing this. 1 and 2 and 3. A third finger here. 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3. That's fine. Just follow their fingering. It's okay. Go down to the last line on page 26. It's got a 1-5, and you got to do this quickly. You play it with fifth finger or thumb, and put fifth finger on it. because we want to connect it with the hands. Because that comes on the end. 1 and 2 and. So you got to change this very quickly. Another fingering you can use if you'd like. So you don't have to do that finger substitution because it has to happen very quickly. I mean, it's not a fast piece, but it's a moderate piece. So on the last line on page 26, rather than 5th finger, use 4th. Come down a little bit. 3rd, you can use 3rd too. But put the thumb on the E and then cross over 4th finger here. And play the G with 3rd finger. And just leave 3rd finger on it because you can use 1 and 2 for the chord. Like so. So again, it's here. In the next measure, you're using thumb to play both of those. That's what that means with that little square brace thingy. Use thumb for both of those. And I would recommend you use 3rd finger for the G. Just stay in this position. That's pretty much. Top of page 27, 3rd measure, it's an E. And use thumb for that D and the E. Just make sure you hold the bottom note down. Then you can use, on the 2nd line, you can use 3rd finger for the A. And the tremolos. I recommend just regular 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2. So it's a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 E and a 2 E. So put the hands together. What do we get? Here. You're going to hold that out for a while. And then here. 1 and 2. Now that's a quarter note. 1 and 2. It comes up on 2 while you're holding that down. I recommend to keep it simple. Go ahead and lift the quarter note up as you play the next 8th note. Just hold it down. Right there. Just lift it up when you do that. It makes it more like a dotted quarter note. Yeah. You're going to pedal this. It doesn't, I mean, the sound's going to go on anyway. Just lift it up as you play that one. Technically, it comes up on beat 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Just lift them up together. Lift it up each time. Now remember, these are not staccato. Try and hold them down. Go down to the last line, page 26. You're here. See, 1 and 2 and here, and then you gotta go up here. Good luck with that. Of course, there is a retardando there, so you can slow down. That'll help a little. And then all tempo. This note and this note are held down. How it goes. These tremolos, you can play those faster if you want. I suggest a controlled. Therefore, you play them rhythmically. So 16th notes are too slow for you. 1 E and a 2 E and. You can try doubling it into 32nd notes. I don't know. That's a little fast. I still think 16th notes would be better. The tremolo doesn't have to be real fast, but it does need to be controlled. So, and even too, yeah. As far as articulation goes, it's pretty much put in the slurs, the phrasing, and that's in the melody. It's all connected. Then you can lift up. It's like taking a breath. So just lift up between each of the phrases is fine. When you get over to page 27, second line, last two measures, you have a staccato. Accents, third line. Separate these slightly. So just put in the, now you can read that as well as I can, I'm sure. Dynamic wise, well, just listen to that fade away. You don't have any control over it, it just fades away on its own. We'd like to have some control over it because on this piano at least I'd like it to fade away a little quicker than that. And then match that sound, whatever it is, on the next note. Come up about a medium soft here and then go back down. So you're very soft, and now they give you two dynamics. I wish they wouldn't do, you don't need two dynamics. Bring out the melody. The melody is soft. Whatever you think that is. Keep everything else in the background. You're staying in that area. You don't have to stay exactly soft. You're a little louder and softer, but in that soft area. And then down the last line, you're going to go all the way down to very soft and slow down. It's like fading away, what's going on? And then suddenly you come out moderately loud right there. Everything else is soft, so just make sure you bring out this melody. If you can play it louder than the dotted half note, great, do it. Otherwise, play them the same. But keep the left hand soft. Second line on page 27, in the second measure, you're going to go up to loud. Loud, and the sforzando makes it very loud. A sforzando is a major accent here. That's it, the attack of it. Not the whole thing, it's the beginning of it. It's very loud, and then the rest of it's just loud. So it's here. Accents loud, they're actually very loud too, but they're not quite as loud as the forzando. But the point here is separate these notes. Now when you do this, make sure you collapse the wrist. Don't play with a stiff wrist. Don't go collapse the wrist on each of these, the sforzandos and everything. Make sure you're playing with a loose wrist. Down at the bottom, the last line, those are not accented. Those are just loud. And that 1 and 2 and 3 and, because immediately you're going back to the ands again. Ugh. Speed-wise, you can find recordings of this. It's just a nice, pleasurely 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just a nice leisure. It's more like an andante to me than a moderato, but okay, whatever. Then we add pedal, which makes sense. This is an orchestra piece. We want to connect these repeated notes, and we want the overtones, but we don't want to smear it up, so we got to be very careful. This is again why you learn it without pedal first. No pedal, so you can hear exactly what the fingers are doing. So when you add pedal, you're aware of the difference. It's going to be overlapping pedal. Well, at the beginning, you can actually put the pedal down with it because it's a loud note. See, when it's a loud note, you can release the dampers immediately, just here. And if you want to decrease it more, gradually raise the pedal up, and that kills the overtones, which gives the effect of getting it softer. So you have a little control in that way of getting it softer. So it's here. Now go ahead and pedal these notes in the second measure. We want the overtones. Because you're getting a little louder and then you now die away. Now, second line, second measure. They're showing pedaling on the first. Well then, I lose my connect. I'm not connecting these anymore. I want to connect them. You can't connect them all the time. But in that second measure, we can pedal the dotted quarter note. That'll help, at least a little. end of the line, it's a new phrase. You're going to lift the pedal up with the hands. So at the last measure, that second line. Then the last line there, I would pedal maybe with each beat. I want the overtones. And then here, I don't like this. I don't like all that sound. I'm going to change the pedal on the A to release that. All the other notes I need down, I'm holding down. So I can do that. So I can change the pedal on the first and second beats, just are separate. So it's, I can even do that with the second measure of that line. And at the end, the last measure on page 26, I could release it on the last note so I'm not smearing this. So just release it on the last beat there if you want. So again, starting on the last, well, just do the whole last line you're here. Page 27, second line on the last two measures. Don't pedal the staccatos, lift up on the staccatos. So, and put the pedal down immediately after the staccato note stops ringing. In other words, I want the pedal down before I play the half notes. I want the pedal already down. I want the dampers I want the sound to explode. So I'll put the pedal down first. So it's here on the last two measures of that second line is here. Right after the sound stops, I put the pedal down. You just have to make sure the sound stops. If it doesn't totally stop, then you've lost your rest. And that rest is important. We want silence between the eighth note and the half note. But if possible, it helps to put the pedal down right before you play that half note. If you can't do that, then put the pedal down with the half note, not after it. So it's here again. So forth. And do that on all those that are like that. But preferably put the pedal down before. On the third line down, second measure, I want to separate these. So I'm going to pedal with the hands. Go down with them and lift up with them. Not overlapping, it's with them. Even with the quarter note or the staccato note, you can pedal with it, but make sure the pedal comes right up. We need a staccato. And the last measure though, those are not accented, but go ahead and pedal with each one. You don't have to separate them, but pedal with each one. Because if you hold the pedal down through the whole measure, it's to separate all three notes. Like so. You have to decrescendo in the first ending because you're allowed to start that. We got to go all the way down to soft. We only have a few beats. I would suggest you release the pedal as you play the second offbeat in the right hand. So it's you're here, right there. Release the pedal. Get rid of all that. That gets rid of that sound and it helps it to die away. So that last line on page 27 is here. See, it just died away a lot right there. And that way when I go back to repeat, I'm soft. And I'm even tempted to change the pedal on the first two beats of these measures too. So I'm not getting both of those. I'd like them to be separate. So I may change the pedal on that. That's what I mean by you experiment with the pedal and see what the sound is that you're after. How much blurriness can you tolerate? This is soft. I don't want too much blurriness. so forth. So yeah, you could change the pedal there on the second beat. And if you're lost, wondering second beat of what? Well, second beat of page 26, second line, where the reverse repeat sign is. That measure and any other measure like it, pedal the first and second beat separately, and then hold it down for the second and third beats. I mean, it's here, here, and any other thing like at the end of that line here. Change it on second beat. So I'm not catching both. I don't want both. So I'm changing the pedal so I don't get both. Everywhere else is like that. Now that second ending, I'm not sure why they've chosen to do that. You got quarter notes, one, rest, 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 but then they're pedaling it. Well, that covers up the quarter notes. That makes them dotted half notes. What's the point? You can play it like that if you want. Go listen to the recording. Are there rests in there? If not, pedal it all the way through. I don't see why you have to just hold the note down for one beat though. But I'll leave that up to you and your teacher on how you play that second ending here. Just make sure the rhythm is fine. The beat is steady all the way through. There's no slowing down here. It's steady all the way through.